guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and in this episode of Laura in the Kitchen I want to show you what I call my apple hand pies. They're basically like an apple pie in a little tiny form that you can eat with your hand, and they're phenomenal, so I'm thrilled to share this recipe with you. First things first is the crust, which I make a buttery cream cheese crust, which is to die for with these pies. You cannot even imagine, and you're going to be so thankful once you learn how to make this pie crust recipe, because you're going to want to use it in pretty much every pie crust. You'll need all-purpose flour, salt and sugar, cold butter, and cold cream cheese, a little bit of lemon juice, and some ice cold water. That's it, and that is all. Easy peasy, but it makes for such a good flaky, yet also sort of a little bit of dense crust. So good. In my food processor, I'm going to add pretty much everything. The flour, and the sugar and the salt, and then I'm going to add the cream cheese and the butter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pulse this until all of that fat is evenly distributed throughout the dry ingredients, and I will show you what it looks like when it is there. Just make sure you pulse and you just don't let it go, because it's going to turn the butter into it's going to just cream everything together. You don't want that. All right, this is what you're looking for. You see how the butter and the cream cheese is sort of like the size of peas now? That's perfect. Now to that, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice. You can also use apple cider vinegar. And what that does is the acidity just helps make a really flaky crust. Trust me, it's so good here. You won't taste the lemon, but it's just gonna be amazing. And then a few tablespoons of really cold water. And I'm just gonna pulse it until it comes together. Look at my crust. Is that gorgeous or what? You can still see the pieces of butter throughout it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to wrap each half. Oh, look at that. You see the cream cheese and the butter? That's a good sign. I'm going to wrap each half in some plastic wrap, and I'm going to pop them into the freezer for about half hour to 45 minutes, and then we're going to get going on the apple filling. All right, so let's work on the apples really quickly. What I've got here are some Macintosh apples that I have peeled and I've thinly sliced and I've cored, of course. Now, I'm using Macintosh apples. Why, you may be asking? Because right now we're in the smack middle of apple season. Where I live anyway, I'm surrounded by apple orchards, and 40 pounds of apples for 10 bucks right down the road was too good to pass up. So that's what I mean, by the way, when I say cook with the ingredients that are in season. They're going to automatically be a better bang for your buck because it's in season. It's growing abundantly, so it's going to be a lot more affordable. And so that's what I'm using. I've got a lot of apples to use up, so you might get a lot of apple recipes. I haven't decided yet. What I'm going to do to these apples really quickly is, in a large skillet with some butter, just a couple tablespoons, I'm going to cook the apples for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not looking to turn these into applesauce. I'm not looking to cook these down too much, but the reason I'm doing this is because the hand pies are going to only be in the oven for about 20 minutes, and if I don't cook the apples a little bit before they go into the pastry, then they're not going to cook down and be soft enough the way that I like it. So by giving them a heads up and cooking them a couple of minutes in a skillet with some butter, it's going to soften them enough so that when they finish cooking in the oven, they're going to be perfect in the hand pies. So I'm just going to let these cook for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to let them cool here until the pastry is ready to come out, and then we'll put the whole thing together. All right, so I've been rolling out one of my discs of dough. You want to make sure that once you take it out of the freezer, you let it come to room temperature for a few minutes. Otherwise, it's going to be too hard for you to roll it out. Now, I've got my apples that I've kind of pre-cooked a little bit. To these apples, I'm going to add sugar, cinnamon, and a little bit of flour. I know you're asking, what's up with the flour? Well, that's because, hold on, let me grab a spoon. That's because the apples, a lot of the moisture is going to come out of the apples, and I don't want to make my dough really soggy. So the flour is going to help kind of absorb and drink up all of those extra juices, and it's going to be amazing. You can see that they've softened, but they're by no means, you know, like applesauce or anything like that. So now I'm just going to set this aside. Roll down my pastry. Little piece of apple there that won't let go. Got a baking sheet with some parchment paper. And I've also got my oven preheated to 375. I've got about a 4.5-inch biscuit cutter. Ideally would like it to be a little bit bigger than that, so I just take my rolling pin and just stretch it out a little bit more. And you can do this square or circle, whatever your heart desires. This is not meant to look perfect. Here's what you do. You do it like so. I'm going to do one so that you can sort of see a little bit of your apple mixture. And then you take, here it is, pastry brush with an egg wash, which is just 1 egg beaten with a little bit of milk or cream. And then you kind of just fold it over because you're making little pies. And if it breaks up a little bit, do not panic. It's going to be perfectly fine, and you will see once I'm done baking them. You just take a fork that I dip in flour so that it doesn't stick, and you just seal your edges. I'm going to continue to make a few more, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. These look great. Now I'm only going to do 9 for now, but I'm going to pop the rest of the filling and the dough in the fridge because it lasts for a few days, and that way I can make them fresh as people come through, because I'm one of those people that's got an open door policy, so people do show up, especially in the fall. So I greet them with warm apple hand pies. I'm going to brush the top with some more of the egg wash. This just gives you really beautiful color and finish. And as I said when I made the first one, if they rip a little bit, it's fine. I did remake my first one just because it was a little bit too ripped. Just don't roll out your dough too thin, and that won't happen. But I also made a little slit on top with a sharp paring knife because I want the air to escape as they bake. And these just need to be in a hot oven at 375 for about 20 minutes or so. And I will show you what they look like when they are done. I'm just gonna finish these two, pop them in, and then we'll get them done. My little ham pies were in the oven for 25 minutes. I've let them cool completely on a wire rack. And now I'm just gonna sprinkle them with powdered sugar. And I am more than excited to dig in to these beautiful, look how beautiful that is. It's like a beautiful apple pie nestled in that gorgeous buttery. Bomb. So good, so easy. Hold on. Great to grab on the go, to serve with coffee, not worry about making a mess, trying to cut apple pie. These are the next best thing, but they give you all of the apple pie flavor and vibe, but in a much easier way, I think. LauraInthekitchen.com has got you covered with the recipe. Hope you enjoyed spending time with me, and I